Okay, for some of you that were up here asking me a few questions, one of the other things that I'd like to cover is whether your loan had ever been originated and serviced by a failed institution, such as IndyMac Bank, Washington Mutual, Countrywide, Saxon, right. If they were ever taken over by the FDIC. Now, the FDIC is an acronym for the U.S. government, although we all know it stands for the Federal Depository Insurance Corporation. If your loan is taken over by the FDIC, you will find out sometimes you think that your loan is being serviced by Bank of America, but it was with Countrywide. Or we'll just use, for instance, IndyMac Bank, which was then turned into IndyMac Bank FSB, which then was turned into the FDIC as receivership, and then it was turned into One West. You might find out, and it's curious, but you might find out if your loan was ever with a failed institution, that it is with the FDIC. They own that loan. And that seems a little rare, but they are getting to be one of the largest owners of real estate assets in the country. But you think you're making your payments to Bank of America, and on top of that, Bank of America is foreclosing on you. And guess what? FDIC owns your loan. They own it 100%, lock, stock, and barrel. Yes. Good. Yeah.
Guys, let's hold off on the questions, especially since we don't have the other mic ready, because the people on the internet want to be able to know what's going on too. So let's just hold off on the questions till Bill says it's time for questions, so we can up the other mic and be ready.
So if your loan was taken over, or the institution that your loan was with was taken over by the FDIC, again, you might find out that they still own the loan. Now, just because One West Bank bought the assets of IndyMac Bank, FSB, doesn't mean they bought all the assets. The FDIC owns a considerable amount of IndyMac Bank loans. And there is a receiver that's been appointed that is and works for the FDIC. And sometimes that receiver is very nice on the phone to me, and then there are times when they are not very nice. And the questions that I ask and the answer that I get is, you're going to have to go through the Freedom of Information Act. Well, this is our own government, and they're not telling me whether or not they own your loan. That's a little scary. And I don't know if you all understand what the Freedom of Information Act is, but it's a document that you file, and they will provide you information, most of it blacked out. So I've gotten that too. That's the freedom that you get. So if your loan has been taken over by an institution that's failed, remember, it could be owned by the FDIC. So if you're in foreclosure, think of that in the back of your head, or if you went through that the party of interest wasn't Bank of America or IndyMac Bank, but the federal government or the FDIC. So keep that in mind. When your loan is owned by an institution such as the FDIC, they have to file an assignment. And this is very important, that when that assignment is filed, it has to be either from the FDIC or to the FDIC. what I have seen in a lot of cases is people have been foreclosed on, and let's say they were foreclosed on 6 months ago. The FDIC assignment is now just filed a month ago. It's wrong. So please pay close attention if your loan is or has been with a failed institution. You might want to go up on the county recorder's office and notice, hey, guess what? The FDIC filed an assignment after my loan was foreclosed on 6 months ago. Whoa, that's interesting. You might have a problem there. And why that is, I can't tell you. The FDIC, though, is one of the largest holders of real estate and assets today that I've seen. Now, those failed institutions that we're talking about also come with new contracts. And those contracts, some are mergers. For instance, if you got your loan through National City, that wasn't a failed institution, that was a merged institution, two mergers. You still need an assignment, though. Okay? You still need an assignment. If you don't have an assignment, then they don't have and had a perfected lien. And that's a recorded assignment. Now, what you won't find is this. They're very, very reluctant, and I will tell you, Friday when I was in a deposition, they provided the original note. Now, if you would have ever seen this person who was sitting at the end of a large conference table, who I don't know who he represents because they don't have to tell me, he had the note in his hand. And it's one of those, I'll just say if that's the note inside there. You can look at it, hold it up, but you can't touch it. You probably wonder why I'm suspicious of notes. And I was very suspicious as to why I couldn't touch the document. And the only thing that my suspicious mind could ever think of was, maybe this isn't the original note. Because I'm not looking at the printed material or how much the dollar amount is or what the note says. What I'm looking for is the assignments on the back of the note or on the signature page. Without those being perfected, they can't foreclose on you. It's called a broken chain of title. And when you have a broken chain of title, like in a securitized loan, when the deed of trust and the note is separated, that is called bifurcation. And when you have bifurcation, they don't have any standing to foreclose on you. But what you probably won't get is the copy, or the original note when you request your documents. You probably won't even get, when you request the documents, if you get a copy of the note, the assignments that are supposed to be on that note. I can't tell you how important that is. But in the deposition that I was at on Friday, again, I was very suspicious of the fact that you can look at the note, but you can't touch it. And they wouldn't pull it out of this sleeve. And it's 4 pages. And the reason why they won't pull it out, again, like I said in my suspicious mind, is all I wanted to do was do this. I want to feel your signature. That's all I want to do. And I want to hold it up against the light, and I want to see it indentated. Because when you got that $200,000, remember, cash out, $200,000 they gave to you, didn't have to put any income, didn't have to put any assets down, you just signed away. You were really fast, and you wrote your name down so they can get that check to you. And I never saw anybody just go, you wrote that name, and on that note is an indentation. They also have signing machines. If you Google, they have a machine that will duplicate your signature and sign it. I've seen it. In this deposition, when we talked about notes, I suggested that we do a paper test to see how old the document is. Because if it was just manufactured a week ago or 10 days ago or 2 days ago, this person's loan was taken out almost 10 years ago. Now, in my particular case, I will explain to you about notes and what happens to a 7 or 8 year old document. I had the chance to look at 4 different notes. I thought I was looking at the note, the first one. They sent it to me, stamped, true, exact, correct copy. That's supposed to be that's certified, and filed it with the courts. The problem with their true, certified, exact, true copy was it had whiteout on it. So it must have been a really bad whiteout job, because if you look at my glasses, I got to wear them to see up close. But even I could see whiteout on that document. So how can it be a true, exact, correct copy if it has whiteout on it? True, correct whiteout. It also didn't have any holes at the top. It's called ACO fastener. We used it in the lending business. The second document that I saw that was filed in court now didn't have any whiteout on it, but it was stamped true, exact, correct copy. So that's the second note that I've seen. And in my particular case, the judge says, and we all have heard this, show me the note. The judge really said, show me the note. I want to see the note, the original note. And the original note on a 7 or 8 year old document, it's like the Constitution. It does age. And that note looked like this color right here. All 4 pages